Hi, within this lecture we're going to cover inheritance. So inheritance is actually a very important concept in object-oriented programming, and let me mark this down so we can just refer it later on. So this is spelled as inheritance. So this feature actually lets us reach the classes from another class. Okay, so let me tell you what I mean. So I have a class called class 1, for instance. Let's keep this class very simple, okay? I will call this class 1 and my other class 2. So within this class 1, I of course have my init method, okay? So let me write self in here, and all I do in this init method is just print class 1, okay, or class created, whatever you want. But let's just keep this very simple because I want to focus on inheritance only. So as you might remember, init method gets called when the instance created. Okay, so I will just call this class 1 created, and I will just create another method in here and call this method underscore 1, and I have to write self in this as well. And all I will do is just say print method 1. And after that, let me create one more and call this method 2, and of course add self and say print method 2 as expected. Now I'm done with my class 1, and it's a very simple class. If we create an instance like this, my instance is class 1, okay? If I hit shift enter, then the init function will get called and it will print out class 1 created. Now if I say my instance dot, I will see the available methods, and for method 1, if I call this, I will see method 1, and of course if I call method 2, I will see method 2. So for right now, we have created our first class. But what happens if I want to create another class? Let me just create this class 2 and use some of the methods that I created back in class 1 in class 2 as well. Do I have to write it from scratch, or can I just import or inherit these methods in here? Of course I can inherit. For example, I have to have an init function, init method in here, right? So let me just write this df init and put self in here. Let's say that I want to import the class 1 init method, okay? And I don't want to change anything. So what do I do? How can I inherit these methods back in here to my class 2? It's very simple actually. All you have to do is just come here inside of the parentheses and write the class name that you want to inherit from. So I want to inherit class 1, okay? And now I can call class 1 methods down here. Now what do? I will just write class 1 dot init, okay? And say self, of course. And this means that just go and call the init method inside class 1. Let's print out something else like class 2 created in order to see this both works. So let me create another instance this time, and this will be class 2 instance, okay? And hit shift enter. As you can see, I got class 1 created from this line over here, and then class 2 created. But I didn't write down class 1 created in class 2, I inherited it, okay? So if I type my instance 2 and hit dot and tap, I will see I am available with method 1 and method 2 in here. If I call this, it will say method 2. Now I can reach method 1 and method 2 from a new instance of class 2. That is where inheritance come into play. So can I add more functions or methods in here? Of course. Let me create a method tree method. Okay, and hit shift enter to rerun this. And now on top of my method 1 and method 2, I have method 3 here as well. So it's very cool. If I go back and call my instance, my previous instance, I only will see method 1 and method 2, whereas I have the reach of method 3 in my second instance as well. So when you deal with this class 2, now I have all the methods in scope, whereas I have only method 1 and method 2 in instance 1. So when you deal with a little project, a small project like this, maybe it doesn't make much sense to you. But in a big project where you have like dozens of classes, then inheritance will help you a lot, because you can just use the methods that you have written before. It's not just a matter of copy and pasting, but also preventing some changes and using it originally by just adding some inheritance code in here. And for further reference, you can overwrite the existing methods like this. So you can say def method 1 self print method 1 override, for example. And even though you inherit the class 1, and even though you call my instance 2.method1, then since you have overridden this, it gives me an error because I think I misspelled it. I had to put an underscore here. It won't just say method 1, it will just say method 1 override because I have overridden it. And in my original instance, if I call method 1, I will only see method 1. So I hope it made sense to you right now, and let's stop here, and within the next lecture we're going to cover some spatial methods.